They laughed when I walked into the room. Not out loud, not right away, but I saw the glances. I heard the whispers. I felt it. And just when I thought I'd disappear into the wallpaper like I always did, someone unexpected stood up and saluted me in front of everyone. And in that one moment, everything changed. Before I tell you how I went from family outcast to the one they now call ma'am, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment if you've ever been underestimated by the people who were supposed to love you the most. My name is Amanda Taylor. I'm 34 years old, a civil engineer based out of Savannah, Georgia. And for most of my life, I've been the family ghost, the invisible one, the background music to everyone else's highlight reel. You know the one. The good girl who never made waves. The one who helped clean up after every Thanksgiving, sent birthday cards nobody read, and gave the kind of quiet, consistent love that never seemed loud enough to matter. That was me. And for years, I thought that was enough. I grew up in a middle-class home in Macon, Georgia. The kind of neighborhood where the lawns were mowed every Saturday and the gossip was sharper than the kitchen shears. My parents, Roger and Eileen Taylor, were proud people, church-going, reputation-conscious, and painfully image-obsessed. We weren't rich, but we pretended like we were better than the folks who were struggling. Appearances were everything, so when you had problems, you smiled through them and ironed your church clothes anyway. I was the oldest of three. My brother Daniel is 2 years younger. Loud, athletic, always the center of attention. And then there's Rachel. She's 8 years younger than me and somehow 10 times more adored. Rachel is, well, she's the star. Straight-A student, joined Army ROTC in high school, got a full ride to Auburn. She's one of those people who could probably walk on water if she wore the right heels. And trust me, she'd have the whole family clapping before she even took the second step. And me? I was the one who fixed Rachel's science fair poster at midnight, who gave Daniel rides when his car broke down, who stayed home when Dad got sick so someone could take him to his appointments. The helper. The quiet one, the afterthought. It's not like I didn't try to stand out. I graduated from Georgia Tech with honors, got licensed as a PE before I turned 30, even led a FEMA infrastructure rebuild in Florida after Hurricane Irma. But none of that made it to the family group chat. My mom didn't even know what civil engineers do. She once introduced me to a neighbor as Amanda. She works with roads or something. Meanwhile, when Rachel made second lieutenant, my dad printed it out and framed the email. So when the annual family gathering rolled around last fall, the first one since COVID, I should have known better than to go. But guilt is a heavy thing. It drapes over your shoulders like a wet coat. And my mother's voice on the phone didn't help. Everyone's coming, Amanda. Even Rachel. She's flying in from Fort Bragg. You know how rare that is. I paused. My stomach turned a little. I'll be there, I said, even though my soul whispered, don't go. The gathering was held at my Aunt Linda's place in Knoxville, Tennessee. She has this massive ranch-style house with a big backyard, white patio furniture, and a smoker that could feed a small town. The Taylors go big on reunions, matching t-shirts, family trivia games, potluck tables groaning under casseroles and pies. The works. I arrived Saturday morning, 10:45 sharp. Dressed neatly, olive slacks, cream blouse, flats. I brought my famous squash casserole, the one Rachel used to love before she went keto or vegan or whatever diet she was on now. When I stepped into the foyer, the air smelled like baked ham and cornbread stuffing. Familiar, warm, but the warmth didn't reach me. Amanda, Aunt Linda called. Her voice was syrupy sweet, but her hug felt like a formality. Look who finally made it, someone muttered from the kitchen. I didn't even bother checking who. The thing about these gatherings is there's a hierarchy. You feel it immediately. Who's in the inner circle, who gets introduced, who they ask about, and who they forget to set a plate for. Rachel arrived 2 hours later, flanked by two uniformed soldiers. Her team, as Dad proudly announced. One of them was a young, square-jawed guy named Miller, and the other was a woman, a tall, broad-shouldered black woman in full Army service uniform. Her ribbons alone looked like a CVS receipt. "That's Major Thompson," my dad whispered to Uncle Gary, puffing up like he was the one who made rank. I watched the way people gravitated to Rachel, like she had her own orbit. Even the kids ran to her, and she played it perfectly. Confident but modest, charming but humble. I almost believed it myself. "Hey, sis," she said when she finally noticed me. "Hey," I said back. We hugged. The kind of hug you give when someone's watching, when it's more about optics than connection. I noticed she barely made eye contact. "You look good," I added. "Thanks. That blouse is classic." Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. It was like that all day. People asking Rachel about Fort Bragg, deployment, what it's like being a woman in the military. Nobody asked about bridges or levees or the 12-hour shifts I pulled during the Florida rebuild. Nobody. I sat near the edge of the yard during lunch, picking at my plate, half listening to a conversation about Rachel's promotion. The major was nearby, quiet, observant. She seemed polite, but hard to read. The kind of person who didn't waste words. "Amanda," Uncle Gary finally said across the table. "You still doing that road work thing?" "Civil engineering," I said gently. "Yeah, I just wrapped up a dam retrofitting project outside of Tallahassee." "Huh, so you fix pipes and stuff?" He chuckled. "More like structural systems, hydrology, geotechnical safety." "Sounds complicated." He raised an eyebrow like I had spoken in code. I smiled politely. My throat was tight. "Rachel always says she wished she had your brain," my cousin Lisa offered, clearly trying to bridge the gap. Rachel scoffed playfully. "Yeah, well, if I had Amanda's brain, I'd probably fall asleep at meetings." She laughed. And so did everyone else, except Major Thompson. She looked at Rachel, then back at me. "Civil engineering," she said. Her voice cut through the noise. "That takes serious discipline." I nodded, caught off guard. "It's a lot of math and patience." She smiled, just a little. "We need more of that in logistics. If you ever wanted to transition into federal service, the Army Corps of Engineers would probably fight to have you." You could have heard a fork drop. My mother blinked like she didn't know what had happened. My father looked mildly confused. Rachel, she didn't speak. But the major wasn't done. "Not many people realize the level of precision and leadership it takes to build systems the rest of us depend on every day. You're in the kind of work that keeps this country standing, literally." She raised her glass. "To Amanda." That toast, that moment, it shattered something. And at the same time, it healed something else. That toast echoed in my head long after the glasses clinked. To Amanda. Not to Rachel, not to Dad's years at the firm, not to Daniel's engagement or Aunt Linda's baked beans. Me. I wish I could say that moment changed everything, that my finally saw me, that I was welcomed into the circle like a long-lost daughter who had finally made it home. But I'd be lying. What it really did was wake up something dark, something bitter, and not just in me. After the major's toast, there was this awkward lull. You know, the kind like someone had farted at a funeral, but everyone's too polite to say anything? I saw Rachel's jaw tighten. Just a flicker. But I know my sister, and that was her tell. She forced a laugh. "Wow, Major Thompson," she said, raising her cup. "We're going to have to get you another glass of punch before Amanda recruits you to her bridge club." People chuckled. It sounded forced. The major gave a diplomatic nod, but her eyes flicked back to me. Studying, measuring. That woman could smell tension like a bloodhound. After lunch, people scattered. Some went to the back deck for sweet tea and card games.
The kids ran off to fight over the trampoline. I offered to help Aunt Linda clean up, but she waved me off. Go relax, honey. Let the younger ones handle it. I was the younger one, but okay. I ended up sitting on the porch swing alone, watching the clouds roll over the Smoky Mountains in the distance. My casserole dish sat beside me, still half full, untouched. That didn't surprise me. I could have brought gold bears wrapped in bacon, and they still would have gravitated towards Rachel's deviled eggs. The screen door creaked behind me. "Hey," Rachel said, stepping outside with 2 glasses of lemonade. She handed me one, sat down beside me. Too close, too casual. "That was something," she said, sipping her drink. "What was?" "That whole little tribute from the major. You got your moment." She smiled, but there was nothing
Warm behind it. I shrugged. It wasn't a moment, it was just a kind word. She turned toward me, her voice quieter. "Amanda, you know how hard I've worked. You know what I've sacrificed to build my career. And today was supposed to be about me finally coming home and being celebrated, not you stealing the spotlight with your little construction job." That hit me harder than I expected. "I didn't steal anything, Rachel," I said, careful to keep my voice even. "I just existed, and for once, someone noticed." She leaned in, voice low. "You don't know how our world works. You think building bridges makes you important? I've led soldiers into active war zones. I've made calls that saved lives. You do math and dirt. There's a difference." I turned and met her eyes for the first time. "Then why did your boss toast me, not you?" That got her. Just for a second. Her nostrils flared. She stood, brushed non-existent lint off her pants, and walked back inside without a word. I thought that was the end of it. A petty sibling spat. Years of tension finally bubbling up and over. But I didn't know then just how deep the cracks ran, or how much Rachel hated losing control. The rest of the day passed like molasses. Sticky, slow, heavy. That night, we all stayed in town at a hotel about 10 minutes away. Family discount rate, courtesy of Uncle Gary. The rooms were cookie-cutter beige, with noisy air conditioning and soap that smelled like lemon furniture polish. I was brushing my teeth when I got the text. From my cousin Tasha. "Heads up! Rachel's talking crap about you in the hot tub." I froze. My hand gripping the toothbrush suddenly felt foreign, like it wasn't mine. Tasha didn't stir drama. If she was texting me that, it wasn't a joke. "What is she saying?" I replied. No answer for a few minutes. Then, that you only came to try and make her look bad, that you're jealous of her life. Said you're probably trying to get a job through her boss because you can't keep one. My stomach flipped. The way she twisted things, how she always had, how she took the knife, smiled while she held it, and then quietly slipped it between your ribs without breaking eye contact. And people always believed her. Because she was charming, commanding, pretty, poised. Me, I was just Amanda. Too quiet to defend myself, too used to swallowing it. Not this time. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning was the farewell brunch at the hotel banquet room. Pancakes, eggs, mimosas. Everyone came dressed in semi-Sunday best, as if saying goodbye required a dress code. I sat alone at a small round table near the corner, nursing a coffee and trying to keep my hands from shaking. Rachel made her entrance like a scene from a movie. Tight navy dress, hair slicked back, that confident stride. Major Thompson followed closely behind, more casually dressed this time, tan slacks and a crisp blouse. She scanned the room and, to my surprise, made a beeline for me. "Mind if I join you?" I gestured to the seat across from me, too stunned to speak. She folded herself into the chair gracefully, set down a plate of fruit, and gave me a look that pinned me to the spot. "You okay?" I blinked. "What makes you ask?" "Rachel's been busy." She paused. I can tell when a subordinate's running interference. My chest tightened.
She told you something, didn't she? The major didn't answer right away. She implied you were struggling, job loss, depression, that you may have exaggerated some of your credentials yesterday. That last part hit like a sucker punch. She what? Major Thompson leaned in slightly. I don't believe her. I stared at her. Why not? Because I did my research last night. She reached into her purse and slid a folded printout across the table. I unfolded it slowly. It was my professional profile, licensure ID, portfolio of public projects, the RAM.Fit rudder date, the I-10 bridge redesign, emergency response certification from FEMA. She smiled. You're a damn powerhouse, Amanda, and I don't like it when powerful women are erased. I felt tears burn behind my eyes. I blinked fast, swallowing hard. Thank you, I whispered. You don't know what that means to me. Actually, she said, I think I do. She stood up and looked across the room, where Rachel was laughing too loudly at something Daniel had said. She's not just threatened by you, Amanda. She's terrified of you. Why? Because you built your success without applause, and that scares people like her more than anything. She left me there, stunned. After the brunch, as people started packing up and checking out, I caught Rachel alone near the elevator. Why? I asked. She didn't even pretend to not know. Why what? Why would you tell your boss I'm unemployed? That I lied about my career? She rolled her eyes. Because she was getting too close to you. Because for once, people looked at you and forgot about me, and I won't let you take that from me. I never wanted to take anything. I just wanted to belong. She leaned in, and this time, her voice was venom. You'll never belong. Not in this family. You're the invisible one, the one nobody remembers until they need their driveway repaved. She turned and walked away. And that was the moment something snapped. I didn't just want to be seen anymore. I wanted the truth to come out. I wanted justice. And what came next? Well, let's just say Rachel wasn't ready for what I had planned.
You know that moment when someone rips the mask off, and instead of feeling vindicated, you just feel cold? That's what it felt like in that hotel hallway. Rachel's words, sharp as glass. Her back turned like she hadn't just torched whatever fragile bridge we had left. You'll never belong. That line stuck with me like a splinter. Not because it surprised me, but because deep down, I believed her. I drove home to Savannah the next morning. 6 hours of silence, broken only by the occasional hum of NPR and the rustling of fast food wrappers I didn't have the appetite to throw away. The major's words kept replaying in my head, over and over like a scratched CD. You're a damn powerhouse, Amanda. And I don't like it when powerful women are erased. She saw me. In a way my own family never had. And Rachel, she knew it. That's what made her dangerous. That's the part that still hurts. I didn't want a war. But the way she twisted the narrative, smearing me to her CO, mocking my work, poisoning the room with her fake charm, made it clear. She started this, and I was going to finish it. 2 days after I got home, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was Major Thompson. Amanda, she said, her tone professional but warm. I hope you don't mind me calling. Not at all. I've been doing some thinking since Knoxville. I'm on a rotational advisory board for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and we've got a few open consulting positions, remote contract work. I'd love to pass your name along, if you're open to it. I nearly dropped the phone. Wait, seriously? You're overqualified, to be honest, but that's a good problem to have. I felt something rise in my throat. Relief? Gratitude? I didn't know. I just knew it was heavy. Yes, I said quickly. I'd be honored. We hung up after a few more questions. And just like that, a door opened that I didn't even know existed. But that was only the beginning. A week passed, then another. And then The betrayal hit. Not the betrayal at brunch. Not the whispered insults or sideways glances. This one came in an envelope. A thin manila envelope. No return address. Slipped into my mailbox like a secret. Inside was a single sheet of printer paper. A screenshot. From a Reddit post. Anonymous. But I knew the writing. It was titled, "My sister lied to my boss at a family gathering to make herself look important." I felt my stomach drop. It was written from Rachel's perspective, but cloaked in a fake tone of victimhood. She described me as manipulative, someone who pretended to be mistreated, only to sabotage her military career with emotional manipulation and embarrassing overreach. She even called the major's toast coerced, implying I had flirted or emotionally manipulated her into saying it. I sat on the floor, numb. My phone buzzed. A text from Tasha. "Rachel's post is blowing up on Reddit. 15K upvotes. She made it sound like you ambushed her in front her CO." I wanted to vomit. I opened Reddit, searched for the post, and there it was. Thread after thread of strangers trashing the older sister, calling me bitter, envious, even dangerous. Rachel had taken my silence, my stillness, and painted it as tactical. She'd turned her guilt into my crime. The comments stung more than I cared to admit. Some people can't stand it when their siblings succeed. She sounds like a textbook narcissist. Let her rot. Military families deal with enough already. I clicked out. Shaking, breath catching in my throat. I didn't respond. Not at first. For days, I didn't eat, barely slept. I kept rereading the printout. The way she framed me, like I was some obsessed, clout-hungry spinster trying to leech off her shine. What cut deepest wasn't the lies. It was the intimacy of them. How well she knew my fears. How precisely she used them against me. But the worst part? She had help. It was Tasha who confirmed it. She FaceTimed me that Sunday, face tight with concern. Rachel's post on Reddit, she was planning it before the reunion. I heard them on the back porch at Aunt Linda's house. Daniel even said, if she starts getting attention, we'll shut it down online. We'll say she's unstable. My jaw clenched. Unstable? I whispered. Tasha nodded slowly. She said people only believe who speaks first, so she made sure to plant the story before you ever had a chance. I looked at Tasha, my cousin, my only real ally in that snake pit of a family. She looked tired. Angry. She added, I saved the voice memo. You want it? My chest tightened. Yes. When the voice memo hit my inbox, I listened to it 4 times. Rachel's voice, low and smug. Look, if Amanda gets too comfortable, we'll drop something on Reddit. You know how she is, always trying to act humble when really she's dying for attention. We'll make it look like she planned the toast, that she's been obsessed with me. Let them feel sorry for her. That's the best way to shut her down. Daniel's chuckle. God, you're a savage. To Rachel said, I learned from the best. That's when I stopped crying and started plotting. The Army takes chain of command manipulation very seriously. More than that, they don't tolerate character defamation, especially when it concerns officers abusing personal power to sway public perception. I knew what I had, and I knew who needed to hear it. But I didn't go nuclear right away. Not yet. I started small. A polite email to Major Thompson. No accusations, just a thought you should know tone. I attached the memo, the Reddit post, a brief note. I trust your judgment. I'm not asking for anything, just context, in case this becomes a bigger issue later. She responded that same evening. Amanda, I appreciate your integrity. Please know this matter will be handled professionally and swiftly.
And then silence. For 3 days. On the 4th day, I got a call from a restricted number. Amanda Taylor? Speaking. This is Lieutenant Colonel Barrett with the Inspector General's office at Fort Bragg. We've opened an internal inquiry related to an officer's conduct. You may be contacted for a formal statement within the week. My knees nearly gave out. It was happening. She was being investigated. But that wasn't the only fallout. A few days later, my mom called. Which was weird. She never called unless someone was dead or in the hospital. I answered, hesitant. Hello? Amanda? Her voice was sharp. Not cold exactly, but clipped. What the hell did you do? Here we go. Excuse me? Rachel is being questioned by her superior officers. She's devastated. She said you sent in doctored audio recordings accusing her of defamation. Why would you do this to her? I almost laughed. Did she tell you about the Reddit post? The lies? The character assassination? She said it was satire, a misunderstanding. I paused, swallowed the lump in my throat. You know what's sad, Mom? What? That your first instinct was to believe her, not even ask for my side, not even pause. There was silence. Amanda, I'm trying to keep this family together. No, you're trying to keep the image of this family together. Big difference. I hung up. My hands were trembling, but my spine had never felt straighter. That night, I went online and made a private post. A confession. My side. No names, no specifics. Just the truth. About growing up unseen? About a sister who weaponized reputation? About what it's like to finally be recognized, only to have it stolen out from under you. It wasn't revenge. It was catharsis. I didn't care about likes. I just needed my voice back. But what happened next? I never expected. My story went viral, and someone very important, someone Rachel never thought would take my side, sent me a message that changed everything.
When I posted my story, I didn't expect fireworks. Honestly, I expected more of the same. Silence, maybe a few pity comments, a couple of strangers telling me to grow up or let it go. I was used to that kind of dismissal. I had armor built from years of it. But instead, my words lit a fuse. Within 48 hours, my anonymous confession was sitting on the front page of r/True Off My Chest. Then it hit Twitter, then Medium. Then a journalist from a military-focused blog messaged me privately. I think I know who this is about. And if I'm right, you've touched on something bigger than sibling rivalry. I didn't reply at first. I just watched. Comments flooded in. Not just support, not just validation, but echoes. Hundreds of women, some in STEM, some in the military, some from toxic families, sharing their stories of being erased, overshadowed, or sacrificed to protect someone else's ego. And then, just as I started to feel like maybe, just maybe, I'd taken back a piece of myself, a message slid into my inbox from a name I hadn't seen in nearly a decade. Sarah Logan. Let me rewind. Sarah was my college roommate at Georgia Tech. We were inseparable back then. Study partners, late-night food run buddies, crisis counselors for each other when internships went sideways. She was bold, brilliant, a black woman in mechanical engineering who didn't take crap from anyone. She also happened to intern for the Army Corps of Engineers our senior year. After graduation, we drifted. She went full military, I went civilian. She got posted to Washington, then Afghanistan, then back stateside. I hadn't heard from her in years, until now. Her message was short, but it shook me. Amanda, I've read your story. I didn't realize that was you until the damn project line. We need to talk. I've worked with Major Thompson.
and I have something you need to see." We met via Zoom that night. Sarah looked the same, just older, more grounded. Her hair was pulled back into a tight puff, and she wore a plain army green t-shirt. She asked first, "You okay?" I nodded, barely. "I didn't expect this, any of it." She said firmly, "I believe you, all of it, and I'm sorry." My voice cracked. "Thanks. I didn't know anyone would." She took a deep breath. "Here's the thing. Rachel's not just dealing with an internal military inquiry. There's a growing buzz about her and officer circles. That Reddit post? People figured out who it was about. It made its way to the ethics board." My chest tightened. "Wait, seriously?" "Seriously. And you should know, someone submitted an anonymous tip linking her to a string of reputation incidents, cases where she allegedly leaked private conversations to discredit peers competing for promotions." I blinked. "That sounds calculated, like a pattern." "Exactly. And guess what? Major Thompson had filed a confidential mentorship report 2 months ago, flagging Rachel for social manipulation tactics. It wasn't meant to go public, but now it's under scrutiny." The walls weren't just cracking around Rachel. They were collapsing. But with that collapse came something I didn't expect. Fear. Because no matter how justified I felt, this wasn't just a family feud anymore. It was a career on the line, a military career. And when the military decides you're a liability, they don't just quietly remove you. They investigate everything. They dig. They make examples. And Rachel? She didn't go down quietly. 3 days later, I got a group text from my mom. "Family Zoom at 7 p.m. sharp. No excuses." I stared at it, jaw tight, heart pounding. I didn't respond. I didn't want to log in. But something told me if I didn't show up, they'd rewrite the story without me in the room. So I logged in, muted, camera on, and the screen exploded in chaos. Aunt Linda was already ranting. Daniel looked like he hadn't shaved in days. My dad sat stiff, silent, eyes darting off camera like someone was coaching him from the side. Rachel was there too, hair perfect, makeup sharp, but her expression was cracked, like someone had taken a chisel to her mask. She said, cold and controlled, "Amanda, I hope you're happy." Excuse me? You destroyed my career. You weaponized a family gathering to launch some twisted revenge plot. Now I'm facing military discipline because of you. My hands clenched in my lap. I didn't destroy your career, Rachel. You did. When you lied, when you posted about me, when you made it your personal mission to humiliate me in front of your boss. Mom cut in. "We didn't raise you girls to tear each other down." I laughed bitterly. "You didn't raise us to see each other at all." The screen went silent. I looked around at the grid of faces, relatives I grew up trying to impress, people who once called me Sweet Mandy, and then forgot I existed once Rachel walked in. I spent 34 years keeping quiet so this family wouldn't unravel. And now that I've spoken up, I'm the villain? Why? Because Rachel finally has to face consequences? Rachel snapped. "You're just jealous. I made something of myself." I leaned in. "You didn't make it, Rachel. You performed it. And the moment someone else got a sliver of attention, you torched everything to protect your spotlight." "Enough," Dad barked. Everyone jumped. He rarely raised his voice. This family has been through enough. We are not airing our dirty laundry in front of half the country. Amanda, take your damn story down now. I shook my head. No. Mom gasped. Are you turning your back on us? I looked her in the eyes. No. You turned your back on me the moment you believed Rachel without even asking what happened. And with that, I logged out. I cried that night. Not out of regret, but grief. For the family I wanted to have. The one I pretended existed every time I showed up with a homemade casserole and a stitched-up smile. That family never existed. Not for me. But just when I thought the emotional fallout had reached its peak, I got an email from Major Thompson. Subject line, RE Opportunity, Confidential. The body of the message was simple. Amanda, please keep this private for now, but you've been recommended for a Strategic Leadership Fellowship through the Department of Defense's Infrastructure Initiative. Full security clearance required. 6-month pilot. Your reputation and discretion have already spoken for you. If you're interested, let's talk. I stared at the screen, stunned. Me! Not Rachel. Not the golden child. Me. I sat there, hand over my mouth, heart pounding. And then the text came through. From Daniel. You should really watch what you say. Rachel's not done with you yet. That's when I realized Rachel wasn't going down. She was preparing to hit back. She started with whispers. Then she tried to ruin my reputation. Now she was going to try to bury me. But she had no idea. I wasn't the same Amanda anymore.
They say revenge is best served cold. But mine, it was methodical, controlled, surgical. Because I'd spent my whole life being the quiet one, the one who cleaned up messes other people left behind, the one who swallowed her pride so the family could keep pretending it was whole. But something changed after that family Zoom call. I didn't want to keep the peace anymore. I wanted clarity. I wanted truth. And if that truth burned Rachel's house of cards to the ground, so be it. After Daniel's text warning me that Rachel's not done with you, I knew I had to be 10 steps ahead. I wasn't dealing with a petty sibling anymore. I was dealing with someone who built her entire identity around control. So I did what any good engineer would do. I mapped out the problem. I took a sticky note, wrote Rachel's weaknesses at the top, and drew 4 circles. 1. Her image. 2. Her influence. 3. Her network. 4. Her secrecy. Then I stared at those words until my coffee went cold. Rachel's whole life was built on being perceived as better, more capable, more respected. She didn't fight fair, she fought smart, sneaky, subtle. So if I wanted to strike back, I had to go where she lived. Not physically, reputationally. My first step was subtle. I reached out to Sarah Logan again, the friend from Georgia Tech who now worked inside the military network. We had another Zoom call. This time, I came prepared. Sarah, I said, what happens if multiple people submit corroborating complaints about an officer's conduct, especially if they span years and locations? She raised an eyebrow. That usually triggers an Article 15 level review, especially if the officer is in a leadership position. Why? Because I think Rachel's pattern goes deeper than me. I think she's hurt other people. I just need help finding them. She didn't hesitate. Send me everything. I'll do some quiet digging. You didn't hear that from me. While Sarah worked her end, I started on mine. I made a burner Reddit account, not to post, just to watch. And sure enough, there she was. Rachel had followed up her original viral post with 2 more. One about toxic siblings trying to sabotage military women, and another warning officers about professional leeches posing as family. She never used my name, but she didn't have to. She even slipped in a line about how certain people fabricate credentials and manipulate their way into contracts through emotional blackmail. That was a direct shot at my offer from Major Thompson. And it wasn't just petty, it was dangerous. If that kind of implication got traction, it could impact my clearance, my reputation in federal contracting circles, maybe even derail my acceptance into the Department of Defense's Leadership Fellowship. She wasn't just mad anymore. She was trying to erase me. So I started gathering my receipts. Everything. Screenshots of her Reddit posts, recordings of her passive-aggressive voice messages, the original voice memo Tasha gave me, plus the raw audio file with the time and location metadata intact. And then I added something new, a series of messages from Rachel's roommate, Megan. Megan and I had been casual friends years ago, connected through a mutual at Rachel's graduation party. When I reached out to her, I wasn't expecting much, but what she sent back nearly floored me. She texted, "Oh God, she did the same thing to me. When I got promoted at my firm and she didn't, she started a whisper campaign that I was sleeping with my boss. She told our church group I had a drinking problem. It got so bad I transferred departments." She attached a screen recording of an old Instagram DM where Rachel said, "Megan needs to be taken down a peg. Some people just don't know how to stay in their lane." I stared at my phone, stunned. Rachel didn't just destroy people out of insecurity. She hunted for weak spots, and when none existed, she created them. Sarah called me the next morning. I found 2 former junior officers who worked under Rachel and filed hostile environment complaints that went nowhere. The Army buried them because they didn't meet the threshold for formal reprimand. But if we attach those to your voice memo and Reddit screenshots, she trailed off. You think it's enough to initiate formal proceedings? It's more than enough. Her voice dropped lower. Amanda, this could end her career. Not just a suspension, I mean discharge. I was quiet. You still want to go through with this? My heart pounded. Did I? Did I really want to take it that far? I pictured her smirking at the brunch table. I heard her laugh echoing in my head as she whispered to my family that I was unstable. I felt the cold silence of my parents as they asked me to just let it go. And then I looked at the folders on my laptop, the real damage she had caused, the people she had silenced. Yes, I said. I'm done playing small to keep her comfortable. The formal complaint went through, filed by multiple people, with my name attached. I knew there was no going back. But I wasn't done yet. Because Rachel's power wasn't just in the military, it was in our family, in the version of me she'd sold them all for years. So I made a decision. One final public move. It was a Facebook post. Nothing dramatic, no name-calling, just a long, heartfelt letter. For years, I've been quiet. I've been the helper, the peacemaker, the ghost. I've watched my sister rewrite our history in real time, and I let it happen because I thought silence was strength. But silence allowed harm, and harm left unchecked becomes legacy. So here's the truth. I laid out what happened at the gathering, the toast, the Reddit smear campaign, the manipulation, the recordings, the formal investigation. And I ended it like this. If you're reading this and wondering who to believe, I'm not here to convince you. I'm just here to reclaim my voice. Whatever you decide to do with the truth, that's on you. I hit post and exhaled. The fallout was immediate. My aunt texted me privately. I always suspected Rachel had a mean streak. I just didn't know how far it went. A cousin I hadn't spoken to in 5 years commented, "I believe you, and I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner." Even my dad sent a 3-word email. I was wrong. But my mom, she didn't say a word. She just unfriended me. And Rachel? She went offline. Every social account. Gone. Silent. Until the call came. Late. Unmarked number. I picked up. Heart hammering. Amanda. Her voice was different. Shaky. Small. I don't know what to say. I paused. Then don't say anything. They're discharging me. Not dishonorably, but it's over. Everything I built. She waited, expecting tears, pity. I know you're happy now, she added. No, I said, calm. I'm free. There's a difference. I hung up, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty for being seen. But freedom has a cost, and when everything burns down, you're left standing in the ashes, wondering what's worth rebuilding. It's funny. You think the final blow will feel loud, like some grand explosive moment that echoes into the world and makes everyone finally sit up straight and say, "Now we see her." But the real end? It's quiet. It's the silence after the storm, the empty inbox, the clean break. The mirror that finally reflects who you are without the shadows of who you used to be. Rachel disappeared from my life. After that last call, after she admitted her career was over, after she tried to guilt me into grieving with her, she went radio silent. I heard, through Tasha, that she'd been reassigned temporarily for administrative processing and then released under a non-public general discharge. No formal court-martial, no headlines, just gone. It wasn't the dramatic takedown people might expect, but it was fitting. A quiet end for someone who did her damage in whispers. What surprised me more was what came after. The silence wasn't empty. It was peaceful. I didn't have to tiptoe around holidays anymore. Didn't have to steel myself for family cookouts where my name was said like a footnote. Didn't have to fake laugh while Rachel recounted her deployments, like war stories while I stood by with potato salad. I started reclaiming the space I'd been shrinking out of for years. The Department of Defense Fellowship? I accepted it. 6-month consulting on flood resilience infrastructure and low-income communities. I got to help rewrite emergency response protocols after the devastating coastal hurricanes. I met people who valued my voice, who didn't question how I got in the room, who didn't look at me like I snuck in the back door with a borrowed name tag. I stopped apologizing for existing, stopped asking for permission to be proud of myself. And somewhere along the way, I forgave myself. Not her. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But me. For the years I wasted trying to prove I was worthy of the bare minimum. For staying quiet so long that it almost became a second language. For thinking survival was the same as love. My relationship with my parents? Complicated. Predictably. Mom still hasn't spoken to me. She sent a Christmas card last December. No note inside, just a signature. It was her way of saying she wasn't ready to admit anything, but she also couldn't pretend I didn't exist. Dad, on the other hand, made a quiet peace offering. He emailed me in the spring, no subject line. Inside,
A photo of the first bridge I ever worked on. The one I designed fresh out of grad school, small, nothing fancy, just a rural overpass outside Macon. But it was mine. His caption? Drove over this today. Thought of you. That's all. But it was a start. I don't attend the big family gatherings anymore. I do brunch with Tasha and her new baby. Sometimes I visit Aunt Linda one-on-one. We bake, we laugh, we talk about everything but Rachel. And for the first time, I'm not trying to fill some empty seat at the table. I built my own table, on my own terms. The revenge? It wasn't about destroying Rachel. It was about freeing myself from the story she wrote for me. Because I was never the jealous sister, never the shadow, never the sidekick in her victory parade. I was the one quietly laying the foundation, brick by brick, while she stood on a pedestal built on borrowed praise. And when the pedestal cracked, I didn't even need to push. It collapsed under its own weight. If you're wondering where I am now, I'm still in Savannah, still a civil engineer, only now I teach part-time at Georgia Tech's coastal campus. My students call me Dr. Taylor, even though I've told them 1,000 times I'm not a doctor. But it makes me smile anyway. Because maybe, to them, I'm someone worth listening to. I used to think being invisible was safer, that if you kept your head down, didn't make waves, and smiled through the cuts, they'd finally let you in. But sometimes, the only way to be seen is to stop shrinking. And sometimes, the best revenge is not becoming like the ones who hurt you, but becoming whole in spite of them. Sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who try hardest to keep you small. If you've ever had to fight to reclaim your voice or rise from someone else's shadow, I want to hear your story. Drop it in the comments below. And if this story hit home for you, hit that like button. Subscribe for more real stories of justice, truth, and healing. And remember, the best revenge is becoming the person they never believed you could be. I'm Amanda. Thanks for listening. And I'm not invisible anymore.